Vote. Hearing none. The yeas are 58. The nays are 41. The amendment is agreed to.
Madam President.
The senator from Nebraska.
Madam President, I rise to call up my amendment number 2243.
The clerk will report.
The senator from Nebraska, Mr. Nelson, proposes amendment number 2243.
I ask that further reading be dispensed
Without
with.
objection.
I rise to call up this amendment today addressing federal performance payments that states receive to make sure that Americans in tough times who need supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits receive them, and those who don't get them. It's a common-sense, good government amendment that builds on a 2002 bipartisan agreement between the states, the previous Bush administration, and Congress. In my view, Congress shouldn't eliminate incentives to improve efficiency in their SNAP programs, as some are proposing. Congress should, though, better target these federal performance bonus funds so states can use them only, and let me emphasize only, to improve their SNAP programs. My amendment ensures that incentive payments go at activities that improve efficiency, effectiveness, and program integrity in SNAP. These efforts have results. Since these incentives were put in place, the SNAP error rate, the sum of its overpayment and underpayment rates, has fallen nearly 40%.
Time has expired.
That's a good investment. I ask and urge the adoption of my amendment. Thank you.
Who yields time in opposition?
I yield back the time.
The question is on the amendment. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Is there a sufficient second?
He just said that. All in favor say aye.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. Right.
Madam President.
Senator from Alabama.
Madam President, I appreciate my good friend's amendment. I don't think it deals with the problem completely and appropriately. I've offered Amendment 2172 that would end the bonus payments for increasing registration on the food stamp programs. States currently receive bonuses for increasing enrollment in the food stamp program. This amendment would end that policy and would save a modest $480 million, if you call that modest, out of $800 billion being spent on the program over 10 years, according to the CBO. Colleagues, one of the problems that we have with the food stamp program, if you just think about it, is all the money comes from the federal government, but all the administration comes from the states. They have no incentive to manage the program in a way to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse. It really helps their economy if more money comes in from out of state. And so for the federal government to have a program that rewards states on top of their natural incentive to
Senator's time has expired.
would be wrong. So I urge support of my amendment.
Does the senator wish to call up his amendment?
As for the yeas and nays, and I do call up amendment number 2172.
The clerk will report.
The senator from Alabama, Mr. Sessions, proposes amendment number 2172.
And I ask for the yeas and nays.
Is there a sufficient second?
I thank the chair.
There is. The yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will Who yields time?
Madam President,
The senator from Michigan.
Madam President, I would strongly oppose this amendment. We are talking about improvements in managing errors, reducing errors in the nutrition program, and the senator's amendment would eliminate the error reduction bonuses that go to state governments. We've seen a 43% drop in payment errors as a result of the program that Senator Nelson has now strengthened with his amendment. In his amendment, he would ensure that all of the additional funds that go to states are used only to carry out improvements in SNAP to lower the error rates. Those savings to taxpayers dwarf the cost of this incentive to states to improve their processes. It's working well. In addition to that, in this bill, we eliminate any lottery winners, students living at home with their parents, from receiving assistance. We crack down further on trafficking and retail establishments. We don't want...
Time has expired.
I would urge a no vote.
The yeas and nays are previously ordered. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka, Mr. Alexander, Ms. Ayotte, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Baucus, Mr. Begich, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Bingaman, Mr. Blumenthal, Mr. Blunt, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Boxer, Mr. Yeah, I did. Sir.
Yeah, she told me yes.
I did. Brown. Brown. Durbin. Levin. Johann. Mr. Lee. Mr. Brown of Massachusetts. Mr. Brown of Ohio. Mr. Burr. Ms. Cantwell. Mr. Cardin. Mr. Carper. Mr. Casey. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Coates. Mr. Coburn. Mr. Cochran. Ms. Collins. Mr. Conrad. Mr. Coons. Mr. Corker. Mr. Cornyn. Mr. Crapo. Mr. Dement. Mr. Durbin. Mr. Enzi. Mrs. Feinstein. Mr. Franken. Mrs. Gillibrand. Mr. Graham. Mr. Grassley. Mrs. Hagan. Mr. Harkin. Mr. Hatch. Mr. Heller. Mr. Hoven. Mrs. Hutchison. Mr. Inhofe. Mr. Inouye. Mr. Isaacson. Mr. Johans. Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin. Mr. Johnson of South Dakota. Mr. Kerry. Mr. Kirk. Ms. Klobuchar. Mr. Cole. Mr. Kyle. Ms. Landrieu. Mr. Lautenberg. Mr. Leahy. Mr. Lee. Mr. Levin. Mr. Lieberman. Mr. Lugar. Mr. Manchin. Mr. McCain. Mr. McConnell. Mr. Menendez. Mr. Merkley. Ms. Mikulski. Mr. Moran. Ms. Murkowski. Mrs. Murray. Mr. Nelson of Nebraska. Mr. Nelson of Florida. Mr. Paul. Mr. Portman. Mr. Pryor. Mr. Reed of Rhode Island. Mr. Reed of Nevada. Mr. Risch. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Rockefeller. Mr. Rubio. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Sessions. Mrs. Shaheen. Mr. Shelby. Ms. Snow. Ms. Stabenow. Mr. Tester. Mr. Thune. Mr. Toomey. Mr. Udall of Colorado. Mr. Udall of New Mexico. Mr. Vitter. Mr. Warner. Mr. Webb. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Wicker. Mr. Wyden. Senators voting in the affirmative: Barrasso, Crapo, Enzi, Grassley, Hatch, Hoeven, Hutchison, Inhofe, Johans, Lugar, McCain, Moran, Portman, Sessions, Thune, Vitter, and Wicker. Mr. Wyden. Mr. Roberts. Aye. Senators voting in the negative: Akaka, Bingaman, Boxer, Brown of Ohio, Cantwell, Cardin, Casey, Collins, Durbin, Gillibrand, Harkin, Johnson of South Dakota, Klobuchar, Cole, Landrieu, Lautenberg, Leahy, Levin, McCaskill, Menendez, Merkley, Mikulski, Murray, Nelson of Nebraska, Pryor, Reed of Nevada, Sanders, Shaheen, Stabenow, Tester, and Wyden. Mr. Warner, no. Cochran. Mr. Cochran. Aye. Mr. Begich. Mr. Begich. No. Mr. Paul. Yes. Mr. Paul. Aye. Mr. Bozeman. Mr. Bozeman. Aye. Mr. Franken. Mr. Franken. No. Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nelson of Florida. No. Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander. Aye. Mr. Burr. Mr. Burr. Aye. Ms. Ayotte. Ms. Ayotte. Aye. Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee. Aye. Mr. Rockefeller. Mr. Rockefeller. No. Mr. Coburn. Mr. Coburn. Aye. Mrs. Feinstein. Mrs. Feinstein. No. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chambliss. Aye. Mr. Toomey. Mr. Toomey. Aye. Mr. Isaacson. Mr. Isaacson. Aye. Mr. Dement. Mr. Dement. Aye. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin. Aye. Mr. Blunt. Aye. Mr. Lieberman. Mr. Lieberman. No. Mr. Kerry. Mr. Kerry. No. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Whitehouse. No. Mr. Kyle. Mr. Kyle. Aye. Mr. Carper. Mr. Carper. No. Mr. Blumenthal. Mr. Blumenthal. No. Mr. Conrad. Mr. Conrad. No. Mr. Cornyn. Mr. Cornyn. Aye. Mr. Graham. Mr. Graham. Aye. Ms. Murkowski. Ms. Murkowski. No. Mr. Rubio. Aye. Mr. Corker. Mr. Corker. Aye. Mr. Udall. Mr. Udall of New Mexico. No. Mr. Risch. Mr. Risch. Aye. Mr. Shelby. Mr. Shelby. Aye. Mr. Manchin. No. Mr. Heller. Mr. Heller. No. Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett. No. Not yet. Mr. Brown of Massachusetts. No. Mr. Baucus. Mr. Baucus. No. Ms. Snow. Ms. Snow. No. Mrs. Hagan. Mrs. Hagan. No. Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed of Rhode Island. No. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Schumer. No. Mr. Webb. Mr. Webb. No. Mr. Coons. Mr. Coons. No. Mr. Inouye. Mr. Inouye. No. Mr. Coates. Mr. Coates. Aye. Mr. McConnell. Mr. McConnell. Aye. Mr. Udall. Mr. Udall of Colorado. No.
Are there any senators in the chamber wishing to vote or wishing to change their vote? Hearing none, the yeas are 41, the nays are 58. The amendment is not agreed to.
Madam President.
The senator from Pennsylvania.
Madam President, I'd call up my amendment number 2238.
The clerk will report.
The senator from Pennsylvania, Mr. Casey, proposes amendment number 2238.
I'd ask that further reading be dispensed.
Without objection.
Madam President, I'm calling up this amendment, which is really...
The Senate will be in order.
Madam President, this amendment is very simple. It's about two things. First of all, it would increase the frequency of reporting, so-called dairy price reporting that goes on already. The Department of Agriculture does this reporting on a rather frequent basis. We're just going to suggest that we codify or make law what the USDA is already doing. So first it would increase the frequency of reporting from, quote, no less than once a month to, quote, more than once a month. So it just really puts into law what's already the practice. Secondly, this amendment will require the USDA to study, only to study, the feasibility of having 2 classes of milk as opposed to 4. This would help clarify whether or not folks would want to do that. It requires that study. But in particular, on the first part of the amendment, we need to make sure that our farmers have as much information about pricing. It'll help the farmers themselves, dairy buyers, dairy suppliers. It'll help market
The senator's time has expired.
I'd urge a yes vote on this amendment.
Who yields time? Senator from Kansas.
Thank you, Madam President. A recorded vote has been requested, and so I seek the ayes, nays.
Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka, Mr. Alexander, Ms. Ayotte, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Baucus, Mr. Begich, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Bingaman, Mr. Blumenthal, Mr. Blunt, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Boxer, Mr. Brown of Massachusetts, Mr. Brown of Ohio, Mr. Burr, Ms. Cantwell, Mr. Cardin, Mr. Carper, Mr. Casey, Mr. Chambliss, Mr. Coates, Mr. Coburn, Mr. Cochran, Ms. Collins, Mr. Conrad, Mr. Coons, Mr. Corker, Mr. Cornyn, Mr. Crapo, Mr. Dement, Mr. Durbin, Mr. Enzi, Mrs. Feinstein, Mr. Franken, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Graham, Mr. Grassley, Mrs. Hagan, Mr. Harkin, Mr. Hatch, Mr. Heller, Mr. Hoven, Mrs. Hutchison, Mr. Inhofe, Mr. Inouye, Mr. Isaacson. Mr. Johans. Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin. Mr. Johnson of South Dakota.
I'll go to the restroom and I can take the next vote.
Mr. Carey. Mr. Kirk. Ms. Klobuchar. Mr. Cole. Mr. Kyle. Ms. Landrieu. Mr. Lautenberg. Mr. Leahy. Mr. Lee. Mr. Levin. Mr. Lieberman. Mr. Lugar. Mr. Manchin. Mr. McCain. Mrs. McCaskill. Mr. McConnell. Mr. Menendez. Mr. Merkley. Ms. Mikulski. Mr. Moran. Ms. Murkowski. Mrs. Murray. Mr. Nelson of Nebraska. Mr. Nelson of Florida. Mr. Paul. Mr. Portman. Mr. Pryor. Mr. Reed of Rhode Island. Mr. Reed of Nevada. Mr. Risch. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Rockefeller. Mr. Rubio. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Sessions. Mrs. Shaheen.
Aye.
Mr. Shelby. Ms. Snow. Ms. Stabenow. Mr. Tester. Mr. Thune. Mr. Toomey. Mr. Udall of Colorado. Mr. Udall of New Mexico. Mr. Vitter, Mr. Warner, Mr. Webb, Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Wicker. Mr. Wyden. Senators voting in the affirmative: Akaka, Alexander, Ayotte, Bennett, Bingaman, Brown of Ohio, Carper, Casey, Chambliss, Coates, Collins, Conrad, Coons, Corker, Crapo, Gillibrand, Hagan, Heller, Hutchison, Inouye, Isaacson, Johans, Johnson of South Dakota, Cole, Landrieu, Lautenberg, Leahy, Lugar, Manchin, McCaskill, Menendez, Merkley, Mikulski, Murkowski, Murray, Nelson of Nebraska, Nelson of Florida, Reed of Rhode Island, Reed of Nevada, Risch, Roberts, Rockefeller, Sanders, Shaheen, Snow, Tester, Toomey, Udall of Colorado, Vitter, Warner, Webb, and Wyden. Mr. Franken. Mr. Franken, aye. Mr. Cardin. Mr. Cardin, aye. Ms. Cantwell, aye. Mr. McConnell. Mr. McConnell, no. Mr. Levin. Mr. Levin, aye. Mr. Pryor. Mr. Pryor, aye. Senators voting in the negative: Barrasso, Boxer, Brown of Massachusetts, Burr, Coburn, Dement, Feinstein, Hatch, Inhofe, Kyle, Lee, McCain, McConnell, Moran, Paul, Rubio, Sessions, and Thune. Mr. Udall. Mr. Udall of New Mexico, aye. Mr. Grassley, aye. Mr. Bozeman, aye. Mr. Begich. Mr. Begich, aye. Mr. Enzi. Mr. Enzi, no. Mr. Durbin. Mr. Durbin, aye. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin, no. Mr. Kerry. Mr. Kerry, aye. Mr. Blunt, aye. Mr. Lieberman. Mr. Lieberman, aye. Mr. Cochran. Mr. Cochran, aye. Mr. Graham. Mr. Graham, no. Mr. Wicker. Mr. Wicker, aye. Mr. Baucus. Mr. Baucus, aye. Mr. Blumenthal. Mr. Blumenthal, aye. Mr. Harkin. Mr. Harkin, aye. Mr. Portman. Mr. Cochran. Mr. Cochran, no. Mr. Wicker. Mr. Wicker, no. Mr. Cornyn, no. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Whitehouse, aye. Mr. Shelby. Mr. Shelby, no. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Schumer, aye. Mr. Rockefeller. Mr. Rockefeller, aye. Mr. Portman. Mr. Portman, aye. Ms. Stabenow. Ms. Stabenow, aye. Ms. Klobuchar, aye. Mr. Hoeven, no.
Are there any senators in the chamber wishing to vote or change their vote? If not on this, the ayes are 73 and the nays are 26. The amendment is agreed to. Senator from Kentucky.
I call up Amendment 2181.
The clerk will report.
The Senator from Kentucky, Mr. Paul, proposes amendment number 2181.
I ask unanimous
There'll
consent.
be 2 minutes of debate,
Okay.
equally divided. The senator from Kentucky.
This amendment will limit all payments or all farm subsidies to persons with an adjusted gross income of less than $250,000. My friends across the aisle are commonly saying, why don't those of means pay more or receive less? This amendment would do precisely that. 9% of farmers earn more than $250,000 worth of gross income, adjusted gross income. This would limit their payments. Currently, 9% of the farmers who are the well-off farmers are receiving nearly a third of the benefits. A good question for the Senate might be, what do Scottie Pippen, Larry Flint, and David Rockefeller have in common? The answer would be that besides being very rich, they've all gotten farm subsidies in the past. I think this should change and that the wealthy shouldn't be receiving farm subsidies. This amendment would get rid of this, and I yield back the remainder of my time and encourage the senators to support this amendment.
Mr. President.
The senator from Michigan.
Mr. President, I would urge a no vote on this bill. The good news is the people that are mentioned will no longer be able to get farm subsidies under this bill because of the reforms we've already put in place. We have already lowered the adjusted gross income. We have put $50,000 per person cap on payments, which is less than half than farmers currently receive. And let me just say, this would cap across the board, including conservation, and conservation of land and water is critically important to us as a country. I'll yield now the balance of my time to my ranking member.
Well, it's not only commodity programs, Madam Chairwoman. This would also affect all of our conservation programs, crop insurance, rural development programs, research, dairy, and livestock. I doubt if Larry Flint has anything to do with any of those.
Number. Is there a sufficient second?
I'd ask for the yeas and nays.
There appears to be. The question is on amendment number 2181. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka, Mr. Alexander, Ms. Ayotte, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Baucus, Mr. Begich, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Bingaman, Mr. Blumenthal, Mr. Blunt,
That's burying the Second Amendment to make it look like it's all one. That's a big no-no. So if you get a hold of that, you'll see it. I know it's hard, for you to imagine on the phone, but I would just like you to be aware of that. Oh, yeah, you can pull it. I'm sorry. Of course you can pull it. Okay, so it's 12/9/40. Yeah. And oh, you got it right now. And you can see that's the very end. Another amendment in there. That amendment strikes, hits in two places. We don't do that. I missed it the first time.
Mrs. Boxer,
They have to drop in two separate amendments. I mean, that's just out of order. If they get caught on,
Mr. Brown of Massachusetts,
then I miss inserting it.
Mr. Brown of Ohio,
Because when I look at it, I'm looking for, strike or insert, looking for keywords. I don't go and since you already have an A
Mr. Burr,
and then B. There's a flow there. They go together.
Ms. Cantwell,
And it would mean nothing. So, you just got to let those councils
Mr. Cardin,
play around with that.
Mr. Carper, Mr. Casey, Mr. Chambliss,
Okay, well, if they did, that's good for them, because I'm calling it.
Mr. Coates, Mr. Coburn, Mr. Cochran,
Oh, yeah, well, don't worry, I'm having to put them in there,
Ms. Collins,
so don't worry.
Mr. Conrad,
And then they'll say, Kathy, that's what you said.
Mr. Coons, Mr. Corker,
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to strike it, but it's just separate. It's not big. It's not big.
Mr. Cornyn,
I just want to make you aware of it. Thank you. No problem.
Mr. Crapo, Mr. Dement, Mr. Durbin, Mr. Enzi, Mrs. Feinstein, Mr. Franken, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Graham, Mr. Grassley, Mrs. Hagan, Mr. Harkin. Mr. Hatch. Mr. Heller. Mr. Hoven. Mrs. Hutchison. Mr. Inhofe. Mr. Inouye. Mr. Isaacson. Mr. Johans. Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin. Mr. Johnson of South Dakota. Mr. Kerry. Mr. Kirk. Ms. Klobuchar. Mr. Cole. Mr. Kyle. Ms. Landrieu. Mr. Lautenberg. Mr. Leahy. Mr. Lee. No. Mr. Levin. Mr. Lieberman. Mr. Lugar. Mr. Manchin. Mr. McCain. Mrs. McCaskill. Mr. McConnell. Mr. Menendez. Mr. Merkley. Ms. Mikulski. Mr. Moran. Ms. Murkowski. Mrs. Murray. Mr. Nelson of Nebraska. Mr. Nelson of Florida. Mr. Paul. Mr. Portman. Mr. Pryor. Mr. Reed, Rhode Island. Mr. Reed of Nevada. Mr. Risch. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Rockefeller. Mr. Rubio. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Sessions. Mrs. Shaheen. Mr. Shelby, Ms. Snow, Ms. Stabenow, Mr. Tester, Mr. Thune, Mr. Toomey, Mr. Udall of Colorado, Mr. Udall of New Mexico, Mr. Vitter, Mr. Warner, Mr. Vitter, Mr. Warner, Mr. Webb, Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Senators voting in the affirmative: Ayotte, Burr, DeMint, Hatch, Heller, Lee, McCain, Hall, Portman, Rubio, Toomey. Mr. Johnson of Wisconsin, aye. Senators voting in the negative: Akaka, Barrasso, Baucus, Bennett, Bingaman, Blunt, Bozeman, Boxer, Brown of Massachusetts, Brown of Ohio, Cantwell, Cardin, Carper, Casey, Chambliss, Coates, Coburn, Cochran, Collins, Conrad, Coons, Corker, Cornyn, Crapo, Durbin, Enzi, Feinstein, Franken, Gillibrand, Grassley, Hagan, Harkin, Hoeven, Hutchison, Inhofe, Inouye, Isaacson, Johans, Johnson of South Dakota, Klobuchar, Landrieu, Lautenberg, Leahy, Levin, Lugar, Manchin, McConnell, Menendez, Merkley, Mikulski, Moran, Murray, Nelson of Nebraska, Nelson of Florida, Pryor, Reed of Rhode Island, Reed of Nevada, Roberts, Rockefeller, Shaheen, Snow, Tester, Thune, Udall of Colorado, Udall of New Mexico, Vitter, Warner, Wicker. Mr. Graham. Mr. Graham, no. Mr. Begich, no. Ms. Murkowski, aye. Mr. Sanders, no. Mr. Kyle, aye. Mr. Lieberman, no. Mr. Wyden, no. Mr. Whitehouse, no. Mr. Webb, no. Mr. Risch, no. Mrs. Boxer, Mr. Blumenthal, No. Mr. Alexander? Mr. Alexander? No. Mr. Inouye? Mr. Inouye? No. Mr. Schumer? Mr. Schumer? No. Mr. Kerry? Mr. Kerry? No. Ms. Stabenow? Ms. Stabenow? No. Mr. Shelby? Mr. Shelby? No. Mrs. McCaskill? Mrs. McCaskill? No. Mr. Cole? Mr. Cole? Aye. Mr. Sessions? Mr. Sessions? No.
Any senators wishing to vote or change their vote? If not on this, the yeas are 15 and the nays are 84. Amendment's not agreed to.
Mr. President,
Oh, Senator from Delaware.
I call up my amendment 2426.
The clerk will report.
The Senator from Delaware, Mr. Coons, proposes
I
amendment
ask that further reading be dispensed with.
2426.
Without objection. There are
Thank
2 minutes of debate equally divided.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to the leaders who've worked so hard on this
The Senator will
bipartisan...
yield. The Senate will come to order. The Senator from Delaware.
on this bipartisan farm bill, especially Chairwoman Stabenow and Ranking Member Roberts. Senator Chambliss and I are grateful to have our amendment heard. Poultry is a critical industry in Delaware and Georgia and many of our states, and between the recession and the volatile cost of chicken feed, there are a rising number of factors that can have a catastrophic impact on local economies that are well beyond the control of our farmers and integrators. The two studies that we propose in this amendment would explore whether insurance programs might make sense as a tool for helping poultry farmers and integrators continue to thrive during uncertain economic times, and would specifically study protection from catastrophic loss from disease outbreaks or bankruptcy of poultry integrators. This amendment is at no additional cost to taxpayers, and I urge my colleagues to join Senator Chambliss and me in supporting it.
You want to yield back a minute?
The Senator from Kansas.
I yield back the balance of my time.
All time is yielded back. The question is on Coons number 2426. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The amendment is agreed to.
President,
Senator from California.
thank you, Mr. President. I call up my amendment 2422.
The clerk will report.
The Senator from California,